The first domino has fallen in this year's NBA trade deadline, and it's Aaron Gordon. There's been rumors of him getting moved for so long, and it looks like this year is finally the year we'll get to see him on a different team. Although despite the numerous teams interested, there seems to be a pretty decent gap between what teams think his value is and what the Magic think his value is. And it's tricky too. Over the last few years, we've seen flashes of a consistent three-point shot and playmaking, and then he'll go back to shooting like low 30s from three. But this season is weird because he's only played 23 games and he's shooting 40% from three, and that's a decent sample size, but also, it's Aaron Gordon. Despite that though, he is still a valuable defensive player in the right situation, and his athleticism can be great for some pick and roll with the right guard. He's also under contract for the next 2 years for roughly $18 million a season. Say what you want about the contract. He also has shown flashes as a passer his whole career and has steadily been improving, at least box score wise. His turnovers this year are pretty bad, 4.2 assists and 2.7 turnovers. You'd hope that whatever team he goes to will put him in a situation where he wouldn't be handling the ball too much. I mean, he's had a good defensive rating his whole career too. Yes, I'm aware the Magic have been a good defensive team for a while, but I really do think the right situation, he can really raise the floor of a defense if he plays up to his potential. So what teams can or really should trade for Aaron Gordon? First up for me is a team you've probably heard a lot about, and that's the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers were without CJ and are still without Nurkic, if I'm not mistaken, and they not only remained afloat, I think they exceeded all expectations. They are sitting at 25-17 at the time of recording, which has them at the 6th seed, and they've just been really good. I already have a trade in mind for them too. Robert Covington, Nasir Little, CJ Elleby, and 2 second-round picks for Aaron Gordon. It might seem like a lot, but how much stock do you really have in Nasir Little or Elleby? And I know you found a couple guys in the second round of the last few years, and generally a couple second-round picks don't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. And I also know that they traded their first-round draft pick for Rocco on draft night, but honestly, I think Aaron Gordon is a better defensive player. Rocco is a really good team defender, but he's just solid on ball. He also only shoots like 62% at the rim, which isn't terrible, but it's below average. Replace that with the vertical spacing of Aaron Gordon, who is shooting 69% at the rim, which is really nice. Not to mention, if he can really keep his three-point shot up, it'll also be better than Rocco's. He's also 5 years younger. So to me, if they can do it, and if Aaron Gordon can really play up to his potential, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I know that we've been saying this for a minute now with Aaron Gordon, but maybe a change of scenery is all that he needs. Not to mention, he has never had an elite guard to play with, and now he would have the elite offensive duo of Dame and CJ. I mean, just think of the attention that takes off of him. I'm sure he'd get more open looks playing with them, but that would be something we'd have to see. Another team that I like for Gordon is the Warriors, and hear me out on this one. I know that they have Draymond, and I know the Magic struggled figuring out whether to play Gordon at small forward or whatever, but hear me out. Just play him at center. Not all the time, obviously. That would be a nightmare, I'm certain. But let him, Dre, Wiggins, and Steph have a lineup, and he'll have no problem playing next to Wiseman, I'm sure. But since they have gone quite some time this season with a really thin center rotation, just throw Gordon out there in a small ball lineup situation. Him and Wiggins have some serious athleticism to them, and you've got Dre at the top of the key directing the offense, and you've got Steph running around like a crazy person around the court. I mean, if it works correctly, then I think it could be a really dynamite lineup for them. I'm not sure who would play the other wing spot though, because for this move to really go through, I just threw in Oubre, who is the same age as Gordon, but he's also been kind of trash. I thought it was a great pickup before the season. Now, not so much. So whether the Magic really have any kind of interest in Oubre, that's another question. But they also would have Jordan Poole and the Minnesota second-round pick thrown in there. And that mini second is basically a first-round pick. So that in itself is some nice value for them on top of still getting a somewhat young player as well as a young guard with some scoring potential. But yeah, for the Warriors, I also love it. And it would certainly provide a different aspect of offense for them having such a lob target. I just think all around it's a good move for probably both sides. And I think there's a decent bit of value here for Orlando. Last up, before some honorable mentions, we have the Timberwolves. Now, I did a trade for Aaron Gordon in my Timberwolves My GM series in like June of last year, and he was trash, so this whole thing might mean nothing. But in real life, maybe Aaron Gordon would be a really good fit next to Towns. Lord knows the Timberwolves need some defense. I mean, they've kind of had a young forward in Jaden McDaniels emerge as a pretty good defensive player, so maybe they would rather just keep him and let him grow rather than trade for Aaron Gordon. Gordon also has apparently said that he wants to go to a big market with a lot of branding opportunities, and Minnesota is not that. So this could just be worthless, but I'm going to talk about it either way. As we all know, the Timberwolves don't exactly have a ton of defense. Their two main guys are bad defenders. Hold up on that. I'll give Cat some credit. He's actually kind of a solid defender. It's D'Lo, who's the absolute train wreck. He's like Trae Young if he was just worse at everything on offense. And then you got Malik Beasley. Anthony Edwards, who I don't really have a take on his defense. But you've also got a Kogi, who is supposed to be a good defender, and Jaden McDaniels. Maybe you want to run out a lineup with 3 forwards, although Kogi is like 6'4", so I guess he's a guard. I don't know. Anyway, the move is Rubio and Culver for Gordon and Bacon straight up. No picks. I figure Culver is enough value, and while the Magic are still taking back salary until the next year with Rubio, he is a point guard for the rest of the season, and next season if Cole Anthony doesn't really break out or anything, I don't know. I also know that Bacon has been getting some pretty decent run with Orlando, but he's kind of just not that good. But for these Wolves fans, or anyone else saying Culver is too valuable to be trading for Gordon like this, just look. I understand that he is a young player who they drafted, 6th overall? But at this point in time, he's just bad. Shooting percentages are ugly, even if his free throws went from 46 to 59%. I mean, his field goal percentage and his three-point percentage both went down this season. And he's just lost in the rotation, kind of. Get him on Orlando with a good defensive coach in Clifford, let him get some consistent run, and just see what happens. Meanwhile, the Wolves get supposedly the ideal 4 next to Cat, and they don't have to worry about splitting up a million minutes between 5 or 6 guards who possibly deserve them. So while there are some questions around this one, I think it's a decent deal for both sides. With Chris Finch at the helm now, they look like a completely different team. So give them some real players to play with, and let's just see what happens. Now for a few honorable mentions, or names that I've just heard in the rumors. If Atlanta were to trade away John Collins, Aaron Gordon would be a decent replacement, at least as a pick-and-roll partner with Trae, in terms of athleticism and a lob threat, all that kind of stuff. But there is no arguing that he is worse than John Collins in pretty much every way, other than defense. But it would still also bring up the dilemma of Isaac playing small forward for the Magic, so it would probably be a no-go. The Celtics have also been rumored for everybody on the planet, so they get another versatile wing, and I assume like a first-round pick or 2, with the trade exception, is going to Orlando. Not really sure on that one because they're also rumored for Fournier, same with Dallas. Maybe Denver, but MPJ should really be playing the 4 because of his defense. Dallas maybe, some defense next to Luka. If Gordon is going to be good, there's a lot of teams that should consider trading for him. But that's all I got for now. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. And y'all have a good one.